The As Is podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The As Is podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the As Is podcast. Today's guest comes from the era of the Supreme Team, the Fat Cat, the Pappy Masons. He's actually one of the co-defendants of Fat Cat. The brother goes by the name of Spoon. Spoon, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. But they call me Luke now. That was then. So my name is Luke Stephan. Spoon was my nickname back then. I mean, they still call me Spoon now.
You want to clean that shit up immediately, huh?
Yes, sir.
This is gonna be a good one. You know what? First thing, take us back to the days, man, when you was in that lifestyle. Tell me what it was like.
I guess we could have been compared to like rap artists today. Even though they say that the rap artists, well, they got their thing from us, but it was like we was like them. It's like you go to the club and pick whoever you want. They're gonna come with you. You can practically you could live however you want to live. You could do whatever you wanted to do. It was just like a free range. Everyone was happy. Everyone was getting some money. It was good times that we thought would never end.
Right. So tell me exactly who you directly linked to back in those days.
I was connected to Fat Cat.
Okay. Fat Cat was a force to be reckoned with, correct?
And at that time, yes.
Tell me what
a strong force.
Yeah, definitely. And we're talking about Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols. And Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols, for the record, supplied the Supreme Team with cocaine. Is that accurate?
At the beginning, at any given time, anyone could have been the supplier because whoever had the plug, I mean, that's who everybody went to see.
Right.
In all reality. But at the time, yeah, he was supplying them.
Okay. What role did you play in that organization?
Lieutenant.
You was a lieutenant. Tell me what your duties were.
Sometimes to make purchases for us. I had my own crew also within that structure, and sometimes I would have to see other members of the crew with their work.
Okay. Okay. You would make a purchase. Tell me the amounts. What kind of purchases we're talking? Are we talking sneaker?
No, I mean, if you need some, like a quick 10 joints or 5 joints or something, I may do that. And then dispersing it to the rest of the crew.
Okay. Where was your territory? What part of Queens did you have?
South Jamaica.
South Jamaica. Specifically where? Rockaway, Sufton?
Well, basically, it was a block called 150th Street. They shut it down after we got arrested, but that was like $1 million a day going through that block. Probably more than that.
Really?
Yeah, so it was just like an open drug supermarket. Like if you watched American Gangster with Denzel, they kind of like mimicked it. Like when he used to put on the disguises and go down to the block and you just seeing the action going. Because it was different crews down there that was allowed to work down there, but it was a bunch of money coming through there.
Who were the crews that were there?
You had Danny, had the Green Gate, you had Cream, you had Cliff, you had Hillary, Shangy. It was a few people. It's a lot of people down there.
Of the names you just mentioned, I guess the most recognizable one for our audience might be Supreme of Supreme Team. Uh,
Yeah,
Tell me what he was like, man.
I'll tell you what he was like back then.
Yeah.
Um, Flamboyant about his business, serious individual.
Okay. I notice you keep saying back then. You making a difference. You're separating then from now. So I
Well,
assume that he's different today. I mean, because he's incarcerated, of course. But is there a difference in him today?
um, well, I'm saying back then because you're speaking to me about that time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I have to speak on the mindset of people back then.
Okay.
So of course, people evolve. That's what almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
So you talking about this is the mid 80s. We're talking about 82, 83, 84, 85. We got arrested. I mean, I was in jail part of that time also, but yeah, this is like it's getting to be 2022 in a
Right.
couple of months. So we talking about almost 38 years ago. Matter of fact, Cat has been in jail for 30 something years. When we got arrested, he hasn't been home yet since.
Yeah.
That was 1985. So I have to say back then because some people might be listening and think that I'm speaking on now. So I may go back because they're not seeing me. We this is like a podcast, so they're just listening. So I'm just trying to take them there.
Right. I
So I
got it.
can't say this is how he is, and we're talking about 1983, 84, 85.
I
I
got
have
it.
to say back then because that's where you're taking me to.
And that's fine. I just wanted you to clarify for the audience so they can
Oh no,
understand.
no, not a problem.
So let me ask you this: is it amazing, or does it ever bewilder you that in 2022 these guys and these stories are still relevant?
Um, it's amazing. And again, you have to understand like the history. Like at the beginning, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I said you said how does it like? I said we felt like we was rappers, like the rappers today, the things that we're able to move around and things that we're able to do and get things done because of the amount of money that we're getting. Not that it's in comparison, but again, if you look at the way the dollar has changed, I don't know what $1 million back then is equal to now. Might be equal to 4 or 5 million.
Right.
I'm not sure of the correct numbers,
Okay.
but it was just it was that's just how we was living,
Right.
and the rappers emulated us, so that's history. So no one thought that hip hop was gonna do what hip hop did. We was right there. We didn't see it.
Right.
Them seen it, but we didn't see it. Like I'm older than Bimmy.
Right.
Bimby was a member of the Supreme Team, so he got into the hip hop and the rap, and changed his thing around because he's seen, but he's younger than me.
Right.
We ain't seen that. We thought we was the shits. Like this shit is gonna last forever. We tried to do some business, but we didn't see what that music was gonna do.
Did you watch the documentary that they had on? And Bimmy was on it, and they had some West Coast dudes, and then they had Haitian Jack.
Yes,
What did you
yes.
think about that?
Well, I'm into films now. I'm a filmmaker, so I thought it was very good. They had a nice budget. They put it together. Um, for me, I liked it. Um,
Okay.
I've heard of Trick. I've heard of Big U. I've never met them.
Okay.
Um, but of course I knew them, and of course I knew Deb.
Okay.
I didn't know Haitian Jack. Um, we knew the same people, but I never was introduced to him.
How did you feel, or based on what was said, or the rumors that circulated around that name? How do you feel about Haitian Jack?
How do I feel about Haitian Jack? Um, I mean, from I don't know you because you're saying rumors, so I don't know
Well, the
what
rumors.
rumors you're talking
Well,
about.
the rumors were. Well, there are several. One is that he was a rat. The other is that he set up Tupac.
Well, as far as the rap thing is concerned, I mean, There's no paperwork, there's no whatever. So if there's no legitimate paperwork, because a lot of times people say a lot of things, but if there's no legitimate paperwork, like you can't put that label on that man.
Right.
If no one is pointing out, even if a person pointed a finger and said, "Oh, he told on me," it's like, okay, well, where's the paperwork from it? Where's the this? Okay, if he's an informant, that means he got to have some type of paperwork from a debriefing,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Because he had to report to someone, so that means they have to write all that shit down. So you mean to tell me all that shit that was written down is nothing?
Right.
I mean, what was he? Now you hear these stories with the government. So, I mean, again, I don't know him. So what was he
Right.
doing? Working with the government or something?
Right.
Because it would have to be something.
Right.
Something.
I
That's
agree.
just that's just my opinion from looking at things from an outside perspective. So a lot of times with these things, I just try to look at it from even if I'm there, it has to be you got to look at it from the outside.
Right. So let me ask you this: how well did Bimmy portray what was going on? Was it accurate?
Well, to me, he was, bigging up Cream. And um, I can't say what happened with his case. I can't say what happened when he came home because I was in jail.
Right.
So I can't tell you if it was accurate. But we all know that the Cream team was making a bunch of money.
Right.
So on that aspect, that's the only thing that I can say is what it is. I know he worked at Def Jams when he came home. What transpired at Def Jams, I can't speak on that because I don't know.
Right. Let me ask you this: what were you in jail for?
Huh?
What were you in jail for?
What? When me and Cat got arrested?
Right. You got arrested with Fat Cat. I want to be clear so people understand who we're talking about.
Yeah. I okay. I got arrested with Fat Cat, and
Okay.
it was a state case. We was facing 25 to life. We I went to trial.
Okay.
He went to trial. I went to trial and I beat the big charges, and I was only convicted of what was because there was like weed in there, and then there was drugs, but the drugs was inside of a desk. So I got convicted of guns because there was a gun out. There was a gun in open view. He was sitting on two guns. So I got convicted of a gun and the weed that was on the table. It was like a pound of weed on the table.
Okay.
But the rest of the charges I beat.
Now it's obvious. I'm gonna ask a obvious question.
Uh-huh.
That Fat Cat didn't beat his charges. What was
Huh?
he? The obvious question, the obvious answer, should I say, is that Fat Cat did not beat his charges because he's been
Oh no, no,
incarcerated.
he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. He didn't beat his charges. The case we had split up. I went first. Um, I went first. It could have been. Let's see what happens with him. But it was like either way. It's like okay, I'm gonna go first. I went first. I beat everything. I testified at his trial. They
On
didn't
his
go for it.
behalf.
Yeah, I
Okay.
said that the things were mine, but they felt that being that he was sitting behind the desk, the jury felt he had control.
Of you.
Like he had control of what was inside.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? From the area.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm the one with drug cases.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I went and I said that the drugs inside the desk was mine. He didn't know that it was in there.
Right.
They, he didn't win that case. So he ended up with 25. I ended up with 3.5 to 7.
Wow. Have you spoken to him, or did you speak to him? What was your conversation like, if there was one?
Um, as far as like what you mean back then or up to date or
Back then.
back then we spoke at times once he got arrested. Um, then I got violated 30 days later. So we was inside together. Then I maxed out on parole and was able to get out for a little bit, and then I came back in for trial. So we spoke. Back then, uh, shit was kind of crazy. Some people might not believe this, but we was able to get phone calls in the Queen's house. Like the police didn't know that the phones were working, or maybe they set it up like that. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But at a certain time, I could lift up the receiver and I could speak to Pat or I could speak to him.
Okay.
Like they could call. Like we was able to get phone calls on the tier. Like some they was able to find the number. I can't even remember how, but we was able to call each other
Okay.
for a little bit until that got burnt out.
Okay. I think one of the most famous things about Fat Cat was the murder of the cop Edward Byrne in February of 1988. Were you
Uh,
around then?
I was in jail.
Okay. Let me
Thank
ask you,
goodness.
when you heard about that, what did you think, man?
When I heard about that, I dropped my cereal. I was in Clinton.
Wow.
And a matter of fact, I was in Clinton Annex and it came on the TV in the day room, and everyone in the day room looked at me. Well, that's what I felt.
Right.
No, they turned their heads to look at me because it was like a fucking Queens niggas gonna have shit fucked up at the parole board.
Right.
That's what the talk was. So yeah, they did look at me. And did I feel it? And that police thing didn't come from him. It came from Pap. But did I feel that that's where shit was coming from? Yeah,
So wait a minute, you're
yeah.
saying that Fat Cat didn't order the murder? Pappy Mason ordered the
No,
murder.
Pappy Mason ordered the murder.
Why?
He didn't order the murder. I don't know. I haven't seen him since. I spoke to him one time since I've been home. Um, but from my understanding, it was like, listen, bro, back then, nigga, niggas, okay. So you see how you see an artist right now that's making a bunch of money,
Right.
how they feel like they're above everything, like they're God,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now if I'm telling you that's how we were back then, niggas thought they was gods, bro. I mean, it was just so much money. It's like it just that shit goes to your head, bro. Like and the power. You know what I'm saying? The power, shit. Sometimes the power might be more than the money. It's like it was some powerful people there.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
So
Um,
so let's take us up to now as far as Pappy is concerned, as far as Fat Cat is concerned, or both of them. How are they doing?
I haven't heard too much. Cat is in Clinton. Um, Pap is I don't know where he's at. I heard he was in Allenwood.
Okay.
Not sure if he's still there, but then I hear that he's fucked up in the head again, and I hear that he's okay, so I don't be knowing.
When you say fucked up in the head, what does that mean?
Well, they said they kind of like was Pat was like a Pat was the type of dude that he did what he did, and he wouldn't give a fuck if someone was there or not, and he was going kind of crazy. They said up in the federal joint when they came into the feds, and they start sticking him with Thorazine to slow him down, and they snapped his head. At one time they said he was like throwing shit around, stuff like that, like he had snapped, he had lost it. But when I
Wow.
spoke to him, it seemed like he was cool, but that was like years after. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So I mean, but I remember when I can remember when my mother was sick before she passed, and like when she would come from the hospital and they would be sticking her with that shit, she would come into the house and be like, "Whose house is this?" Like she would remember me,
Right.
but then be like, "Whose house is this? This is a nice house."
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So she was going there 'cause I guess she had heart problems, but you got to understand that they just sticking you with that shit, and that was for medical. If they sticking you with that shit to slow you down, and ain't nothing wrong with you. I mean, to us, but to them, like this nigga's crazy. We got to slow him down.
Right.
And that's what they did.
So Cat is in Clinton.
Cat is in Clinton.
Now, have you spoken to him at all?
No,
Okay.
I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Does he have a family?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you spoken to anyone in his family?
Well, I speak to his sons at times. Those is like my nephews.
Okay. So
So
is there a bond there?
with me and his sons, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking questions like that is because what you seem to have done was done something that was honorable in the streets. There's street codes and like you're not supposed to snitch. You're supposed to take care of people's families. And a lot of that has gone out the window. I don't know too many brothers who would have stepped up and said the drugs are mine and took the charges and went to jail without
Well,
ratting.
yeah. I mean, well, it's like this, right? When you look at it, right? Some people might say, "Oh, he played," but I'm just like, I'm a loyal type of person.
Right.
So if you're saying like this is for the cause, at that time, my mind is telling me, okay, if the nigga gets out and I have to go in, they're gonna take care of my family because we were built ourselves like a mob.
Right.
So at that time, that's how I'm thinking. Would I think like that now? I don't know. I mean, I'm not into that life. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm doing film, so it's like, you got to be in a different headspace when you out in the streets. You can't. That's not no regular headspace.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when I look at it now, like I did American Gangster, and it's like we used to sit down and talk. I'm like, okay, what we doing? We might get a quarter. Like this is not nothing, nigga. You think that I'm gonna sit down now? And I didn't mean to call you nigga, but
No, we good. We good.
and do something and face 25 years?
Right.
Nah, nah. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
not at this
So,
age. Of course not.
yeah, but when you're younger, it's like, bro, there's a lot of fucking money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially like, well, me, you know what I'm saying? 18, 19, 20, this was a lot of money.
Right.
That was a lot of money. You know
I
what I'm
think it's still
saying?
a lot of money now.
It is still a lot of money now, but it's like, but back then everybody wasn't in the life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was just like a few people. So, like, now it's just like it's the lifestyle.
Right.
Like if you're in the hood, more than likely you're part of or affiliated with a gang or a gang member.
You know what? Let me ask you this. Does that amaze you, especially in New York, that we've let gangs penetrate New York? I
No,
mean,
no, no. Because you have to look at it. I think what it is you got to also understand, right? We destroyed the community. So you had these people that was on crack, and you had these fathers that's going to jail, and you had these mothers. So you had these people, like, like, for me, watching it on the TV, even if it's from LA. So you got these broken households, and everybody like, I I left home young, so I catered and got with Cat and them and criminals because that was my family. It just wasn't a gang back
right.
then. So now all the people that we fucked up during those early 80s, now you have people that their households was broken. So you had these people in these neighborhoods keeping these kids together because some of these kids wasn't no food in there.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I can't say I'm surprised because of the cult because it came from there to there. But what it is just that, listen, once crack came in, like before when I was coming up, you got your drugs in the projects, you got your drugs on 150th Street, you got your drugs in Rockaway Boulevard, you got your drugs at Lincoln Park, you got your drugs on Farmers. You ain't get your drugs nowhere else.
Sufton. You forgot about Sufton Boulevard.
Oh yeah, Sufton and Linden.
Yeah, definitely.
Sufton and Linden. right?
Uh-huh.
Once crack came in, right? When crack came in and we went to jail and they closed the block, remember, it's $1 million going to that block.
Right.
Now that shit is going all over the place. And wherever you had crack at, any little nigga or little bro, he goes uptown, gets him an ounce, he's on. Because they're not trying to walk all the way or go all the way across town and there's no more cross town. They're gonna get in where they fit in, which was what led to probably a bloodbath of murders happening for territory in the mid-'80s.
Right.
Because now you got all these people that's getting some money at different corners. Now Rochdale is getting money. It ain't going to this section. It's like, okay, I can go to 109, 108, 110, 111, 112.
Right.
Everybody's eating.
But it's still amazing though that like New York was about a hustler. It was about getting money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's not really like that.
Okay, so now let me ask you something. You was in New York in the
I was there,
80s?
of course.
Okay, so when did you move to Chicago?
I never moved to Chicago. I'm still back and forth. But
Oh, you still back and forth?
yeah, but my son,
So what do you think it was?
I don't
led-
I don't know, man. You know what I think it was? I think it was rap that changed the gang culture, and I think Lil Wayne is one of the people who definitely started it when he started with them dreads and the Suwoo, and those videos were powerful, and all the little niggas was trying to emulate that, and it just spread. Because prior to him actually coming out and it being public, there was a gang culture, and it was in L.A. It was in Little Rock. It wasn't in New York. New York was about their money.
Not at all. What was it in Chicago though?
It was definitely in Chicago. It's been in Chicago since I think 1954. But it wasn't New York. It was everywhere else. You know, New York has always been different. We was always about our money. Today, not so much. It's like
Well, listen, it's all over.
It is.
Yeah, it's all over.
It is. So let me ask you this: how do you feel about the current television times with shows like Power and shows like BMF? And because you're now making movies, when you see those kind of shows, what do you think?
All right. So when I look at something, right?
Uh-huh.
So first I'm gonna look at it as a fan.
Right.
Then I'm gonna look at it to see how they shot it. Then I'm gonna look at it to see what's the underlying message that they're trying to do. Right. So I enjoyed. First, I didn't like Raising Cain, but then I started liking it because I liked Unique's character, right? But I was out in the 90s, right? So I was getting some money in the 90s, but I wasn't dressing like him. You know what I'm saying? But then again, it's TV. So at first I was off, but then I started liking it because he just kind of like mixed the Brooklyn and the Queens together because we didn't wear dress pants with Pelés. We wore Pelés with jeans.
Right.
People
Very
in
true.
Brooklyn wore the Pelés with the dress pants. So when I'm seeing them with dress pants and Pelés, I'm like, nah, they ain't dressed like that. But
we didn't.
I started liking the story.
Right.
That was the first episode. Now BMF, I like BMF. Of course, everyone's heard of BMF, so I'm watching it. Of course, I know with TV, they got to mix it up. It's not going to be exactly how it was. They got to put a storyline together.
Right.
So after I watched that, and then I watched Ghost, I felt like Ghost was garbage to me because, and I think it was because I could have related to Kane and BMF.
Right.
Because of the stuff that they was doing. That's probably why I looked at it kind of like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's still a good series.
Right.
But it looked like, like kind of corny compared to the other two series because the other two was more realistic.
Right, and it's more something that street niggas could get into. But let me just go back to what you were saying with the comparisons between Brooklyn and Queens. When I was coming up, I'm just gonna say what it is. Queens wasn't moving like that. Like Queens niggas wasn't, they wasn't making noise like. As a matter of fact, like Queens niggas, because I was a Queens nigga for a minute. Queens niggas was scared to go to Brooklyn. I remember you'd be on Rockaway Boulevard, and I remember going to John Adams on the Q7 on Rockaway Boulevard, and when you got to Bayside, you were scared of them Italians. And then I forget, like, that's just where it was. And
Oh
then
yeah, you was over there by the Burger King. What was no? That was White Castles.
yeah,
White Castles.
exactly.
They used to chase y'all back.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, like that. As soon as we got stopped right there, because that was the bus stop. If you wasn't riding the
Mhm.
yellow bus, you was getting on the green bus. So you was getting right there on with White Castles. Man, them motherfucking white boys was something terrible. That was John Gotti's neighborhood. So dudes wasn't really trying to fuck with that, but we had to go to school over there. So on the opposite side, you have to pass Aqueduct Raceway. Remember Aqueduct?
Yep. Yeah, I used to go to the flea market.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
when my first daughter was born, I used to have me and my baby's mother used to go to the Pumas all day at the flea market, bro.
Exactly, exactly. But that was on some Queen shit. Now niggas was not
Hmm.
running up into Brooklyn, cause Brooklyn always was grimy. Like
Yeah.
them niggas was on some wallabies and they little Kangos to this. They was just a grimy type of environment, and Queens was more square. It was a better presentation. Queens niggas did wear dress pants and ballies. That was
Oh,
some. That wasn't a Brooklyn thing. Brooklyn niggas was running around. They was back in Tim's back in them days, but they were just grimy and they was fucking Queens niggas up. Like,
mm.
and it changed. And I
What year
think,
was this?
shit, man, you can already make me tell my age. I don't even want to say
Okay.
that. It was definitely in the 80s. It was definitely in the
Oh.
80s. And it's definitely the transition started and Queens started coming up actually when KRS-One started talking about the bridge is over and MC Shan, and then when Nas came from Queensbridge, everything started to change, and niggas started
Okay.
getting respect, and then Queens niggas just started really like showing out and gunslinging, and it kind of changed all up. But those
Mm.
times are not portrayed on TV. That's not what you
Mm.
see as a reflection. So I think the shows, the reason why I told you that story is because I think the shows are actually based on real times and real events. I would go as far as to say I've heard someone say that they know the real Ghost. I don't know if he's a real character or not, but
Well, they'll say that they'll know who it's based on, but I mean, you can't. Not that you can't, but I'm just saying a person wouldn't make it. Uh, well, it could be.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. And Ghost is like those kind of dudes, they're not killers. Like I think your
Mhm.
era and those people coming back from the Supreme Team days and Fat Cat and Pappy Mason, they were killers, man. Would you
Oh
agree
yeah,
with
they
that?
were. Yeah.
Like they were cold blooded murderers. They would murder your ass and it wouldn't be nothing. As a matter of fact, doesn't Fat Cat have some murders up under his belt? He killed a couple of people. He ordered the deaths.
Um. Oh well, yeah, he has murders in his. I think in his plea agreement, I believe. Yeah, he took some bodies.
Yeah, he did. And do you think he's remorseful?
Um, I think so.
Yeah, because it's alleged that in 2010 he wrote a letter to the New York Daily News, and he said he had nothing but time to ponder his misdeeds, and that he was sorry to the families of the people that he hurt. Do you think that was sincere, or was that just something to get out of jail?
Uh, I think it was sincere. I mean, you have to understand too, right? All right, let's picture this, right? You're making mill a week sometimes, right?
Okay.
And all of that is gone. Like, bro, you're gonna start thinking because you're not, especially after the feds came in. I probably was still living whatever. I mean, because everything was probably good because when you violation, you getting visits every day. So niggas is taking cabs every day to come visit you. You ain't never in. You're not never in your cell.
Right.
But once they come, now it's a whole different kind of ball game. Now everyone is in jail. You ain't got nobody to call. You ain't got nobody to move. Shit's different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have access to $1 million a week, and then you have access to, oh shit, there's nobody to call. Nigga, that's a life changer.
Right.
That's why some crackers jump off the fucking bridge because they can't take it.
Right. Right. I
So
agree.
yeah, you're gonna ponder and you're gonna sit in your cell and you're gonna go back. because I do believe he's 23-hour lockdown.
Okay.
And he probably still is because I think him and Smurder was together. Him and Bobby was together. So I think Bobby was 23-hour lockdown. So they're 23-hour lockdown. So nigga, you did 30. Listen, 1985. You
Mm-hmm.
did 38 years, and most of it is 23 and one.
Yeah.
Boy, you got a lot of shit to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So you know who else did that? And he tried to get a plea bargain, or he tried to get out of jail, which was Supreme. He wrote a letter to Obama requesting a pardon. Uh, do you think when these guys write these letters that they actually think they're going to let him out?
Um, um, huh? I don't know. Let me see. For me, speaking to them, I'll tell you this, right? Between whenever the last time I spoke to Cat, and for me speaking with Cream, they just be like, well, Cat just, he'd just be happy to get home. But I'm just saying, when I spoke to them, they never talked about they coming home.
Right.
It just be like Cream, just be like, yo, I just want niggas to know my story. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want to know, that they did me wrong in my case, which is what the documentary is about.
Right.
So it's just like he's like he ain't they ain't thinking they don't talk about coming home.
Right.
Mm-mm.
So let me ask you, how do you think that, if Preem wants people to know that he's wrong, based on his case and based on some evidence, do you not
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes those things are just called karma?
Um, hey man, you're asking me to formulate an opinion. You know what I'm saying? In a belief. So, do I believe in karma? I guess I could say that because I've always said that like me for instance, like no matter what anyone says, I just be like, yo, I'm gonna just keep going. Like I'm not gonna stop myself. And once I win, I I guess that's the karma. So I guess you could say I believe in that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I also believe in you get what's coming to you.
Right.
So if you did something, then you know how you're supposed to live. So
Right.
is you ask me, is it karma that these men um are in these situations in prison? Um, I mean, another thing at the end of the day is, okay, you could say that selling drugs, murder is a part of your job description, right?
Right.
So, okay, if I'm a fighter,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and I fight,
Right.
and my jaw gets broke,
Right.
uh, that's my job. That's what I was doing.
Right.
If I was playing football and I get tackled and I get injured, that's what I was doing.
Right.
So if you're in the game, you're gonna go to jail or you're gonna get killed. Now, who are these people that got killed? Like, of course, we're not gonna ask that because it's just like, oh shit, this nigga got a murder. But who is getting killed? You know, like I read in a book. I think it was Queen's Reign Supreme. I think they was talking to one dude, and he said he only kills people that's not taxpayers
Right.
because they don't care about them. So back at that time, what were those people doing? You know what I'm saying? If you're in that game, then you're in that game. These things that happen, you can't be in that game and go, "Oh shit, they killed yo." You're in that game.
Right.
If that's making sense to you,
It does.
that's just something that I'm looking at. So when you talk about karma, listen, someone that got killed could have had that coming because they could have did some crazy shit.
Right.
So maybe that was their karma. So I can't say that was that person's karma because I don't know the circumstances of what happened.
Right. If you can go back now and compare, say, you guys at your peak to a BMF, who would be stronger?
Are you kidding me? Meech was doing about 2,500 joints a month.
Okay.
2,500 joints a month, and probably was getting 3 to 5,000 on a joint. Are you kidding me?
So, I mean, I don't understand that answer. That means it them or
That
you?
answer, them.
Okay. That's honesty. That's why it's
That's
surprising.
them.
Because you know why? There's a lot of people that I've asked that question to, and everyone doesn't agree with that. Some people say in their prime, and I've done a couple of interviews, and they say they weren't as strong as me.
Listen, bro.
And you know what I'm gonna tell you? Because
Let me just say this,
okay,
and this is not knocking anybody, right?
okay,
The one thing I have noticed is everybody thinks that they got the greatest story ever told to man. Listen, I went to the feds.
right,
When I went into the feds and I started meeting niggas from down south that been in there for years and was getting, I'm paying, like back in my time, I'm paying like 30 a joint. These niggas had joints for 18. And I'm like, oh shit, if I knew these niggas, I would be fucking crazy. Like, oh shit.
right,
And these and I'm like, these niggas was getting money.
right.
Listen, niggas in the South be getting some bread.
Yeah, definitely, definitely,
I mean, not like niggas from New York ain't getting no bread. Don't get me wrong, man.
right.
But
I got
I'm
it.
just saying, them country niggas be putting some money together. Because
But
I guess they don't go nowhere. They just be, unless they go somewhere. Like in New York, you have to get, listen, New York, we get fly, we got to get dressed, we got to do that. In the South, they just come out.
right, that's very true. A whole
You know what
different
I'm saying?
mentality.
And stack the money.
Yeah, very true. But the reason why I asked that is because there are still some people who feel like, and I'll give you a great example because I did an interview with him last week, Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, and he says,
Okay.
Meechit him couldn't touch him. And here's what I,
Oh, well, okay. I'm just saying.
but then
Now that
let me,
Ross is a different nigga. Listen, Ross is a different type of nigga.
yeah,
You might can compare him to him.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You might could compare him. That's a different type of nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Ross was getting joints. I don't
yo,
know how many
was he?
joints he was getting.
Man,
I don't know.
listen,
I don't
listen,
know what his count was, but
listen.
I'm just saying.
I did my homework on him. I did the documentary and I did the case study on it.
Uh-huh.
Reagan, he was the front man for the Iran Contra affair. So his
Uh-huh.
drug money was actually fronting that war with Oliver North. They
Okay.
were allowing planes, planes full of cocaine in the
Uh-huh.
military for
Uh-huh.
Rick Ross to distribute and
Uh-huh.
disperse. So can you imagine? I'm talking about the planes that carry tankers, like the army planes where they with a
Oh
hundred.
no, no. I know what planes you're talking about.
Like he was getting it like that. And I'm gonna give you another person. And maybe I'm wrong for asking you this, or maybe you just forgot. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant, who I am, meaning I've interviewed, I done got the best of the best, of course, with y'all's
Uh-huh.
story and whatever. Charles Cosby is another one. Charles
Who?
Cos Charles Cosby. Charles Cosby was the black dude that wrote to Griselda Blanco while she was in jail and
Oh, you
bagged her.
talking about the kid? You talking about the kid from Oakland?
Yeah.
But you gotta also understand that fucking Rayford was fucking with her son while he was in jail.
I didn't know that.
Rayford was fucking with Griselda's son. That's how the phone system became the federal system because of Rayford. Because Rayford was making deals on the phone, and he told on everybody when he caught the case in there, and that's why they changed the phone system to 15 minutes.
Did he get out? I didn't get out and he's in protective custody.
I have no idea. I
How do
don't
you feel
think
about
so.
how do you feel about Alpo and what happened?
But I mean, nothing to do with me.
You're very guarded with your answers today, Spoon.
No, listen, bro. I'm just saying. Like again, like I said, you reap what you sow. So when you do something, you have to know something. So like again, that's on you.
Right,
That's not something that I would have did, but I'm just saying.
right. I mean, it's obvious that you wouldn't have done that because you took your time and you took the charges for for Fat Cat, and that was the honorable thing to do. Do you think those same? And I asked you this, but I'm just asking it a different way. Is it still honorable today to think like that?
It would be, but I don't think people think like that because it's a watered down society. It's not like it was before. Because again, like I said, in the 80s, everybody wasn't able to get around.
Right.
Everybody wasn't able to hang out. So now, with it being saturated, you understand what I'm saying? So it's not quality, it's quantity. So now people talk about, I'm gonna come over there with 100 niggas. We never said nothing like that.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like in that neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? They bring in the whole neighborhood. Like the whole neighborhood is with them.
Right.
So it's a different way. Like you can't it's like apples and oranges. You can't compare apples and oranges.
Right.
How a person was thinking then is not how a person was thinking now. Like, yo, like I do movies with some people in Brooklyn, and I see when they get together, I'm just looking at the multitude of people and the money, and they're getting it legally. Like, damn, this shit is fucking crazy dope.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Even one time when I spoke to Bim said, yo, when they went to the Dominican Republic, it was just like back in the days, the way that they was having fun and you know what I'm saying, and just chilling out and being with each other. It's like you don't get that kind of stuff no more.
Right. I got a man out there now, my man Syfe. He's in DR. I just actually talked to him a day ago, and he told me the exact same thing. He's like, yo, DR is like New York in the 80s today.
Mm,
And I'm
mm,
like, word, son? He like, yo, I'm telling you, Baz, DR is just like New York in the 80s. And I'm like,
mm,
wow. And he's like, yo, you need to come out here. And I'm not really feeling that because I'm kind of like you today. I'm staying as far away from anything like that as I possibly can because I can't do 25. And I don't want to be
mm.
faced with the decision if I'm going to tell or not because there's the me that says I'm not telling. So that's a life sentence and I'm getting ready to die. So the best way to do it is to just stay the fuck away from that.
Listen, unless something is threatening your life or your family's life, then it ain't nothing is worth it.
Exactly.
So a nigga can say whatever he wants to say, but as long as it's not a danger to me or my family, then you know, has that always been like that? No.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No. But, you know,
Well, listen, Spoon, man, I appreciate you. No, you know what? Tell us about your movies. Tell us about what you do today.
all right, so I am a film producer. You can follow me on Instagram, LucrStephen, Luke
Okay.
R. Stephen. And I have an array of films out. I'm getting ready to put a bunch of films on Tubi, a bunch of my old stuff, which is cool. But I got some new dope movies coming out this year. Um, Probably in the movie theater. One with Hassan Johnson called Better Than My Last. Um, Another movie called Sin the Movie with Lou Gossett is playing. So, like for me, I used to go watch Lou Gossett at matinees. So to actually work with him, and then he's telling me because he plays a blind person, he's like, "Yo," he called Stevie Wonder to get some pointers. Like that shit is amazing to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my mentality is a different mentality to then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because back then, like I said, we didn't even look at the rappers. It's like, oh, they ain't nobody. This shit is trash. Like, yo, those people had a craft and an art, and they helped to entertain the masses. We was just in the neighborhood. Like I'm trying to change. I'm trying to impact the culture. Like I'm
Right.
trying to the movies I'm trying to put out in 2022. I'm trying to have last in eternity, like generations.
Right. I get it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to do. Like before, when I first started, I just was trying to do it because that's just the drive in me. Like I'm gonna just do it. But as I was doing it, I just got better and better and better. 2022, send the movie better than my last.
Right.
Good
That's good,
watch.
man. You came from you came a long way from when I first told your story, I don't know what you was doing, but you
I
wasn't.
just came home.
Yeah.
I just came home. So it's like you 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it's like,
Well, I'm
then you
glad to
find
see that
out,
you stayed the course and you've done something productive.
oh, it ain't been easy, but I stayed it.
Man, you ain't got to tell me, man. I already know. When people think that maybe, because I got a magazine or whatever, that it's, man, it's the same shit, man. Like, it's the same game. It's a little different. It's just not violence involved and you ain't got to sell drugs, but it's the same. A hustle is a hustle, is
Oh,
the best way I can say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you're a
Trust me,
hustler,
it's still the same bullshit, but
exactly,
you're right. You can't be violent. You
exactly.
you have to definitely be on your P's and Q's, and you got to be on point.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's very true. Hey, man, listen, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time. Uh, Anything you want to say to anybody? Because some of those brothers we talked about, they can hear it behind them walls.
Uh-huh.
So what would you say if you could speak to one of them?
Hey man, listen, if you have another chance, you know what I'm saying, just do the best thing that you can so that you be home for your family and for your children, for your brothers, your sisters, and you know what I'm saying, stay on out here. It's nice out here.
Tell
Even
me
when it's
about it.
bad, it's nice.
It is much better than where they at, where we used to be at, because I've been there too.
Okay.
Spoon, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks for being on the show, brother.
All right.
All right, later.